Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gamey, get nerdy, and get
nurtured.
Yes, you'd think that I would be better at that by now, Alyssa. I don't know. We've only been doing it a dozen times.
Yeah, but it's one of those things that you don't do frequently enough to be an expert at, and that's okay.
That's okay.
I like the amount that we do it.
Yeah. This is episode 12, everybody. That's pretty exciting. Woohoo.
Yeah, pretty soon our podcast will be a teenager.
That's right.
What a tumultuous time for us.
Yes.
I am Alyssa, also known as the IRL support main, and I am a cuddle therapy practitioner and a gamer nerd and the creator of Nurtured Nerds. And I'm so happy to be back here again with all of you.
Yes, I am Mary and I'm in Salt Lake City and I am a cuddle professional, and I would say that I'm gamer nerd adjacent. I do game sometimes, but I'm definitely a nerd for many other things that we've talked about and we will talk about more, which I love doing. So that's why I'm here, and I am very happy to be here with you guys again too. And on today's episode, we are going to have a deep dive discussion with our panel that we've gathered today about the importance and the impact of connection and relationships. We've got several people joining us, a relationship coach who has also created a course, a pro cuddler, and then we have another pro cuddler who's also a video gamer and a puzzle expert and a connection enthusiast. And we have a gamer with us today who's part of our cuddle community. And they're going to introduce themselves in a minute. But first, we want to talk about what our tea is. Oh, but first I skipped a few things because, we're going to talk about our nerdy things and our cuddle position and what's going on in the community about the new raffle. So there's so many things that we need to talk about. So, but first, tea. Alyssa, what's your tea today?
So I mentioned this last time, but we've made our way through all of my teas. So I'm circling back around. Last time I did, what did I do last time? Maybe somebody can remind me. This time though, I have a sugar cookie sleigh ride. It's so yummy. And it really does taste like a sugar cookie sleigh ride. And I put a little bit of milk in it. And
you like all those Christmas minty ones. I like it.
Yeah.
I decided to go with my cool nerdy tea thing again, because it's got an infuser that fits in, and then the tea is in a cake that goes inside, and then you can put it in the lid. And I've got this little cool thing, and it's so dark it's almost looks like coffee, but this is called Pu-Erh tea, and it's Pu-ER.
I remember making fun of that tea last time.
ERH. Pu-ERH, and it's actually a composted black tea, but it's really rich, and it just is very, almost chewy kind of.
Interesting.
Yeah, very full flavor. Anyway, if you want something strong, this is the one to try. I know Alyssa likes her tea diluted, right?
I try to make my tea bags stretch as much as I can.
The whole, yeah. Well, do any of our guests, are you guys drinking tea today?
I didn't bring a tea with me. I'd be happy to give a shout out to this Beyond Microgreens tea that I've had, that is this recovery tea with turmeric in it though. So give a shout out to my friend Stephen and Beyond Microgreens.
All right, I'm looking that up. That sounds good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, if we're done with the tea, let's have our folks introduce themselves. Kassandra, would you like to go first?
Sure, I'd love to. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Alyssa and Mary, for having me on the show. Alyssa, it's so fun to see your vision coming to life and taking on shape and form. And so nice to see familiar faces here. So I'm Kassandra Brown. I'm in Boulder, Colorado. I am a professional touch therapist, professional cuddle therapy. Got the t-shirt to prove it and everything. Yeah. And I'm also the creator of an online course called Jerk Proof Your Relationships. Jerks and nerds, totally different than one another, but kind of like words that aren't used so much in the sort of new agey, touchy feely community. So I love that you work with nerds and I work with jerks. But jerk-proof your relationships is a lot about being like solid and stable in your relationships and not getting jerked around by the things that other people do or your own emotions or your own trauma, taking off some of those filters that we see each other through and having authentic connection. So I love that I get to come and talk about connection with y'all today. Garvin or Crystal?
Thanks, Cassandra. Garvin, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Alyssa and Mary. I'm Garvin. I'm in Los Angeles, and I guess I'm not really a professional, but I am. I like to attend Cuddle events and have Cuddle sessions. You know, part of my self-care practice. I don't know what else. I guess the kind of nerd. I like to play video games and I like to do puzzles.
You'd also wanted to remind everyone that Garvin, you were our very first podcast guest, our very first interviewee. So it's great to have you back again.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me back.
And Crystal.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It makes me so pleased to see everybody and to be present with you guys. I'm Crystal from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm a professional cuddler, and I've been doing that for about 3 years now, and I do both one-on-one and group events and consent workshops. I've been so excited to work with Cassandra on her course and to work with Mary and Alyssa on Nurtured Nerds. It's been a real pleasure, and it's been such an adventure. And I'm so happy to see you guys again and to talk with you today.
Likewise.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I've tried that tea, Mary, and it's really cool. I can't pronounce it, but it's really amazing.
Yeah, did we miss your tea, Crystal? Do you have one?
So I have my really cool otter mug today, but it is a repeat tea as well. I'm still drinking mud water today, but I did have matcha earlier. I like to go back and forth.
Back and forth, yeah.
Both are excellent.
Definitely.
Highly recommend mud water. I just had some about an hour and a half ago, so.
Love it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So let's get into it. Our topic is connection and relationships, hence why Cassandra is here. Our raid, the creator of the course that is the Nurtured Nerds raid currently. And yeah, so I guess you guys already kind of did this, but maybe if there's anything else you didn't mention, each of you, if there's anything you want us to know about you and your work, or what kind of nerdiness you're involved in, that might be a big one that wasn't touched on yet.
I always love to hear that.
The thing that I would love to hear is how that first raid is going, how the Nurtured Nerds Jerk-Proof Your Relationship raid is going. So if we can work that in at some point, I would love to hear. And the fun that you're having with it, the difference it's making, where you're getting stuck, anything like that would be really cool. And again, one of those real-time feedback things that might be even interesting for your guests to hear. What's the thing that I haven't said that I am really excited that we are getting back into the one-on-one in-person touch sessions again? I have missed them intensely. And I realized last week when I had a session, just how much that's a part of my life, and a way that I really love to be in the world, that my nervous system gets to be settled and calm, and my clients get to be settled and calm. So that's the nerdy thing that's fun for me to talk about, is nervous systems and co-regulation and the vagus nerve and things like that. So if we want to get nerdy on some of the neurobiology of connection, that's pretty fun stuff.
Love it. Yes, definitely. I love it. Garvin, did you share what you wanted to share so far?
I think so far, yeah, I'm good for now.
We'll get some nerdiness out of you. I know it.
Yeah, I know.
I feel bad. I feel bad. I haven't started Cassandra's course yet. I signed up for it, but I haven't started yet, so I feel pretty bad. So
good. You should feel really bad. That's exactly what it's designed for.
That's totally what it's going for.
Your relationships can jerk you around.
Now, that's actually one of the fun things about it, is that you get lifetime access to it and you can do it at your own pace. And so if you get excited about it the first weekend after you sign up and you want to do all 6 milestones, cool. And if you want to take the next 5 years to work through it, you can do that too.
That's great.
I think, well, this is something we've discussed a little bit, but we're waiting for more members to join our party before we start our epic quest in full force. Or I believe that's a sentiment that's been expressed a few times. Yes, we need more nerds. Please join us. Yeah. This is a really great quest. I was one of the inaugural Jerk Proof Your Relationship course members, and that was just a really cool experience getting to be a part of creating it. And really anybody who joins this course is a part of creating it, because like Kassandra said, she's always looking for feedback to make this as valuable as possible, to know what we're getting out of it and how it's impacting our lives, and how we engage with life's jerks that can come up from time to time. So.
Yeah, and since we're talking about it now and not later, we might as well just talk about it. I also joined the class, and it's amazing content that Kassandra's put together, and I just keep thinking I'm going to come back to it, and other things just keep getting in the way. So I haven't been to it in a couple months probably, but I want to, and I know I'll come back to it. And so I love that there's lifetime access, and if we do get a raid party together, that will help motivate us all to be doing it together. Oh, see, now I just spilled my tea because I got so excited about that. So anyway, yeah, it's a great class that Kassandra's put together, and there's so much in there. It's that it will take a lifetime to work through it all, I think, and then go back and do it again.
It is really good stuff. But one of the things I want to say is that I've had a couple of groups of people do the course together and do some private coaching with just their cohort to help them move through the material and kind of stay on track together. So let me know if y'all are interested in that. that's
definitely what we want to get to. And I just I want there to be people that show up and to have it be something really good, but maybe it's one of those things, it's like the chicken and the egg, and it's you can just do it and it doesn't matter how many people show up.
Yeah.
And yeah, this course is one of those things where you look at it and you see how many, you see all these really great modules, and well, at least for me anyway, I just get so excited about each one that each one feels like I could do a deep dive into each module, and each module in itself could almost be a mini side quest, and that feels very big because it's so exciting, and so it just feels really transformative, just everything in this course. And please join us.
Thank you, Alyssa, for the transformative words. And I'll say it's designed that way that you could pick any of the 6 milestones: communication, really noticing what you want and going towards it, noticing where your boundaries are, saying no, vulnerability, intimacy, self-care. Those 6, you could do any of them as a super deep dive. And you could also do all of them and do the first lesson in each one and get this outside layer of the onion, and then circle back through and do each one. The course is really designed to be user-friendly in that way. And that's also why I'm looking for feedback. Is it user-friendly in that way? That's what I had in mind. So
versatile.
Yep.
Kassandra, I wanted to state I've been so grateful to be a part of that class, and so happy to come to what little I've been able to accomplish. And I think there is no shame in it taking time to work through the class. So when you mentioned that, Garvin, I was thinking, oh, you're not alone, sir. It's not always easy to keep up with. But what I like is that it's a self-paced course, and I also like the idea of accountability buddies. So I've already been to a couple of the afternoon sessions, Kassandra, where you're working with us, and that really meant the world to me. And then it also really solidified some of the material that you're covering in it. So I like the accountability partner idea, and I want to thank Davion because he's definitely supported and been come on, let's show up to this afternoon thing. So I think that the course is very well set up, and I think that you give a lot of opportunity for coaching. And I think that no matter what, virtual stuff can be difficult, and we're juggling so much in our lives at this point. But I am grateful for the course material, and I think it would be a really good thing for couples to take together, or for families to take together, and of course, like you said, groups. I think that the material is very well suited for relationship building, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for relationship building, for skill building, for feeling more solid and connected with oneself. There's a lot of the course that is about who am I and what's my relationship to me around different things, and really building the relationship with other from the solid relationship with self. And thank you for mentioning the afternoon coaching class, Crystal, because that's a really fun part of this course, that 3 times a month there is live group coaching with me that is included in the course. You get to come as many times as you want. There are people, the course started a little over a year ago. There are people that have been coming for a year now. And as of the 5th of July, which is the first Monday of July, we are shifting to Monday evenings, 6:30 Mountain Time, 5:30 Pacific. So for folks who have jobs, it's easier for somebody to afford a course if they have a job. And if they have a job, it's hard to come in the middle of the day a lot of the time. So we're doing an evening for the next 6 months, because
I'm so
6 months, 6 milestones. So if that's any easier for the Nurtured Nerds folks, come on over. It's going to be Monday evenings, and I will send out an email about that.
That'll be great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cassandra.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, good. Shall we dive into our questions today? What we're going to talk about?
Sure.
Sounds good.
So the first one is, what is connection? What's a good connection? What are some examples of that in your own life? I think for me, I'd say connection is when you are really fully present with another human. And it's really simple but hard concept for people to understand sometimes. Let's see. Crystal, would you like to answer next?
Sure, I'd love to. So for me, connection is so important. In fact, I think besides water, connection might be one of the most important things for me as a human, for survival. I think the beauty of connection in my mind is that it can be so simple and short, and between 2 people that have only just met, and it can be so deep and important, and between 2 people that are maybe related by blood and have known each other their whole lives. And I think that, I define connection as that moment, just like you said, with presence. You're both together, and you're really able to be in that now together, and able to perhaps show vulnerability. But I think sometimes connection doesn't even have to be as deep as vulnerability. It can be as simple as, a handshake, as simple as eye gazing, as simple as a compliment or gratitude towards one another, making someone else feel what you're feeling, or just feel good. So that's kind of my idea of connection.
I like that.
Yeah.
Something you said reminds me of one of my friends calls it vitamin H, or vitamin human. Like that. We need that vitamin H just as much as we need water, and nutrition. So
I agree.
Yeah, I love it. Garvin, do you have a definition of what connection is for you?
Yeah, it's just like what you said, being present with someone, either one person or a group of people, and I guess communication also, working together, like with coworkers, or doing fun stuff together, and just have a nice conversation.
Like enjoying being with somebody else, right?
Yeah, enjoy being with someone else. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Love it. Cassandra?
Yeah, I would love to geek out on connection, or nerd out on connection. Connection is so fun. I really like what you said, Crystal, though, too. I really, and Garvin, you as well. And so I would say connection is a human need, very much so. And not just that I say it is. There's a really cool book called Loneliness, and in it, the scientist author talks about studies that are showing how we need connection, and without connection, we suffer, we have shorter lifespans, we're more likely to get sick, we are more likely to have mental illness and be depressed and anxious and these sorts of things. So connection isn't just this light, fluffy thing that like, oh, that's kind of nice, it feels good. It's really an essential ingredient for being human and being happy and being
alive.
healthy.
And being
Yeah.
alive. Like,
being alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think that's, connection could be synonymous with feeling alive, because we can be connected to ourselves, to nature, to animals. We can feel that, and with other humans, for sure. We can feel a sense of connection. One of the ways I might say it is, I feel me feeling you feeling me, right? That's one way of like, oh yeah, there's this resonance. But that is maybe a deeper kind of connection, because certainly when I make eye contact and like actually ask, how are you, and really listen to the person checking out my groceries, like there is a moment of connection there. So it can be super deep and intimate, and it can be rather fleeting and casual, but connection is important either way.
I love that you brought the science into it, Kassandra, because that has really been a lot that has been being done lately of medicine is looking at what makes people thrive. And they're really looking at this more of like that we need the connection with other people to really thrive. And there's a lot of research to back it up now. Like you said, the biggest factor in having a long life and being more healthy during your life is your social connections. If you have a good family support, or if you have a lot of friends that you see all the time. And it doesn't have to just be touch. It's touch is part of it, that it touches something you can use to connect, but connection, and I use that example too all the time. Like when you go to the grocery store and you just have that moment of eye contact with the checker where you actually are like, hello, I see you, that's connection too. I love it.
yeah.
Alyssa?
Yeah, there have been lots of great examples sprinkled, but maybe we can get into this more. Like, what are opportunities for connection, and how can we recognize them when they're there? How can we take advantage of those opportunities? And what are some pitfalls to watch out for? I will say first, one opportunity, one outlet is Nurtured Nerds. That's why we created it, as a place to connect and be nerdy together and celebrate our nerdiness, celebrate our bodies and our minds exactly as they are, and just, work through life together, work through what it is that we need, like each of us as individuals and together as a community, to meet those needs of connection, and to forge those relationships that are going to be a source of that in an ongoing way.
Definitely. I've connected with all of you here, and we're connecting right now. This is what we're doing, and that's what feeds my life. So thank you.
Glad to be a part of it. Do you have an order that you'd like us to answer that in, Alyssa?
No, whatever feels like it wants to come through first.
Opportunities for connection. Certainly, we create different Zoom meetings. That's one of the things we've done this past year of pandemic, and yay for things opening up a bit. And so being curious with yourself, I would say that's the place to start. Be curious with yourself of what actually feels like connection, because we just gave examples of there's so many different things that could. And noticing that connection is a human need, and so is touch, that we actually have nerve endings in our skin that are calibrated for the pressure and the temperature of being touched, being held. Like it's a gentle but firm pressure, the temperature of human skin. It's pretty amazing that as expensive as nerve tissue is to create in our bodies, that our bodies have nerve endings just dedicated to detecting human touch. And to me, that emphasizes the importance of it, that we actually really need to hold and be held. And so seeking that out, finding safe ways for you to seek out touch and connection. And I will say that a cuddlist session, finding someone who is a professional cuddler, and Cuddlist is my favorite organization that certifies people to be really having a lot of integrity and trust and good boundaries around the cuddling work, that it is really platonic, nurturing touch. And it's not, cuddle, wink, wink, Right, because our society does such a bad job at actually being explicit about what touch is and what it isn't, because we've got all these rules about how we're allowed to describe or market different kinds of touch. And so, but for the cuddlist work to really be platonic, nurturing, everybody keeps their clothes on, nobody's making out kind of touch. And so, especially for folks that have been more isolated during this pandemic time, I really, really highly recommend seeing a cuddlist, not just because I am one, but because it's such a good experience for touch. And so many of us have had so many experiences with touch that are not good. They're not nurturing, and they just reinforce our stories that we need to keep up our walls, that people aren't safe, that somebody's trying to use us or get something from us or anything like that. And so the cuddlist sessions are a really great way to dismantle those stories and get nurturing contact, holding of just the kind that you want and none of what you don't. So that's my plug for creating that opportunity for connection. And I'd love to hear what else Garvin and Crystal have.
I love that. Something that came up for me when you were talking, Kassandra, is that I know there are a lot of people out there who will say, I don't like touch. I don't want to be touched. And I do believe there are genuinely people who don't want to be touched. But I think most of the people who say that, this is my personal opinion, is that they just have had bad experiences with touch and they don't know how to be safe getting the touch they need in a good way. And so learning how to do that with a professional might be the way to go.
Yeah, and you learn with a professional and then you can translate it out into your life. But if you don't know, like if you've never explored getting touch that you really like and feels good to you, how do you know what to ask for with a friend or a new relationship? Like,
and
so the cuddle sessions give us time to practice.
And if you've had bad experiences where the touch wasn't safe and it felt horrible to you, of course you don't like it. But if you could find a way or learn or, in a facilitated space, then people can figure out how to make their own safety and really enjoy that, I hope.
Yeah, it's about learning how, well, someone's doing it for you, a professional's holding that space for you where you get to be at choice. And then through that, you learn that you can create that for yourself. You can be at choice with touch, and you can cultivate these connections, these relationships where there are opportunities for that to be actually like created in the moment.
Yeah, you can say no and not be shamed or hurt or left. And you can say yes and not have somebody take that to mean so much more than the yes that you meant, right? You're not going to get your boundaries overrun. So it's really a great place to practice yes and no. And I've had clients who come with a strong aversion to touch, and they wanted to learn how to enjoy it. They knew it was important, and they wanted that safe container of learning what they want and don't, and how to ask for it. It's so fun to see them thriving in relationships now.
I like to say in my cuddle party opening circles, like we're not like here for cuddle exposure therapy. Like we're not going to make you sit in the corner and hold hands till you like it. That's not what it's for. what it is we want to create an opportunity for you to figure out what you like and how to ask for that and get what you actually like in a safe way for you. So but so many people, they're like, I'm just going to do this till I like it. Like, that's not no.
Yep. It's not a fake it till you make it. But Crystal, tell us something.
Let's hear from more people.
I'm really excited. I've been thinking a lot while you guys are talking. I really enjoy, when we're thinking about opportunities to connect, I really enjoyed a word that was coming up for a couple minutes now was community, building community, something, along the lines of the Zooms that we make, the Nurtured Nerds, even building a community is like building a family. You're like choosing, people that you want to be around. And I think that some of the greatest connections that I've experienced in my life include, like the sports clubs or the fun groups that went to sweat lodges, or the, cuddle community that I'm with, or even working at Scare House. Like all of those different groups had people that I found common ground with and that I was able to connect with. I think another thing that's super imperative and important to touch on is what you mentioned with consent and with understanding your own boundaries. I think, Kassandra, you mentioned sense of self being super important as we connect, and being able to show your authentic self, being able to actually own your yes and no, being able to say, this is me, this is really me. I am a nerd, I'm weird, I I love cuddling. I love plants. I love Care Bears. Being able to say that, feel comfortable in it, and also being able to say, hey, I think you're awesome, but I don't want to hug you right now. And being able to feel okay with that, both parties. That really fosters real connection and real ability to be honest with each other. I think, I've experienced it in my family and my communities, where the more authentic I can be, the more real I can be, the better the connections become. And so those opportunities are everywhere. I did want to briefly touch on, opportunities for connection can be found in such simple ways, in just being kinder to people and trying to see things from other people's side. But also, I know I love to mention this, pets are like so good to connect with, even just having an animal in these isolated times. We mentioned finding a professional cuddler, finding someone safe, those safe spaces that you also touched on. Really, I value safe spaces. And even if that's a yoga studio where somebody can lead a great yoga class and you feel like you can really heal there, I think that is a form of connection and a form of finding yourself, which I get really excited about. So I talk fast and kind of jump around here, but I'm really trying to touch on community, finding oneself, and then being able to own who you are and be who you are, so that you can really do that connection, that work. But I'm very excited and grateful to talk about that.
I love your passion, Crystal. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Did you have anything you want to add, Garvin?
Not much of anything else, but because you pretty much cover everything. So, but I guess opportunities to make connections could be like what you guys said, a Zoom meeting, or just set a day and time to meet at a location somewhere, or even just just set a day and time just to maybe talk on the phone, or just have communication like I said earlier, and yeah. And now that we're mentioning that, I'm going to share something personal. I have a date tonight.
Hey,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
it's exciting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's definitely an opportunity for connection.
Yeah,
definitely. Let's talk about dating. What changes have you seen in our culture lately in the dating world, with what's been going on? Or do you think people are dating less or having sex a lot less? Or, what's going on there? Don't know.
That's a really interesting question. So I think that the isolation from the pandemic has definitely driven people to want to connect. I think that our society is very oversexed and under intimate. And so there's a very large portion of people that the only way they think they should be able to get that touch or connection, unfortunately, is maybe dating or through intimacy. And intimacy can be such a beautiful thing. But of course, I see a lot of like dating apps happening, and a lot of
Crystal, are you using intimacy and sex as synonymous things, or
no? And I apologize, because I was trying to think of sex when I said the word intimacy, and I was maybe trying to PG it. I don't actually know, but I was thinking, people want intimacy and they seem to confuse it often with sex. And I know that
absolutely.
I know that it to me, I feel like there's a very large community of people that are isolated and scared and not reaching out for touch, and becoming maybe even more afraid to come out of their house, or even more afraid to reach out for that connection. But I do see a group of people also, really working through that and finding connection in ways, alternative ways, whether it's dating sites, Zoom meetings, other communities. And so I think the pandemic hasn't actually changed the fact that people are going to continue to date, but I'm sure that it's morphed and adapted their ways of connecting. And so I think that we need this kind of work more now than ever, if that makes sense. And by this kind of work, I mean cuddling, Cuddlist, the Jerk Proof Your Relationship class, the Nurtured Nerds community, all of these things I think we need actually now more than we've ever needed them. Never.
I agree with that, Crystal. And even though I did like the whole shrug thing when you said, what's going on with dating, Mary, one of the things that I'm hearing is that people have been actually glad for the COVID protocols during dating, some folks, because it's allowed it to slow down. That dating in our culture had gone so fast from like, hey, do you want to have dinner, to that means we're going to have sex with each other. And that with COVID, people have been like, gosh, can't, I'm not going to kiss you. I'm not going to hug you even right now. Like, I want to slow down and get to know you. So that socially distanced dating has actually allowed people to slow down that process a little bit and get a little more curious. And so I'm actually really excited about the opportunities, kind of like what you were saying there, Crystal, that we have opportunities right now that we haven't had before, because we've checked our, the momentum is just going in one direction. And then we've kind of stopped it. Now people are looking around going, well, what do I want? And so this is a great time for Nurtured Nerds, for Jerk Proof Your Relationship, for Cuddlist, for introspection, and for people to connect and talk to one another. And, what do I want? And what is intimacy? Like, to open up that question, because, as you said, intimacy and sex are not synonymous. And it's even in the course, it's a jerk move of intimacy is to confuse intimacy and sex. Because they're just not the same thing.
No, definitely not. And I do think one positive out of the pandemic is that people are getting very comfortable saying, this is my boundary. Like, I need to wear a mask, or we're going to be 6 feet apart, or I'm going to be at my house and I'm not going out. That's my boundary, So people are realizing that they can hold boundaries when they feel strongly about it. And that's practice. That's good practice, I think, for other things. When you're going to negotiate an exchange with somebody, you can say, well, we're going to sit 6 feet apart, or, or I only want to hold hands tonight, or whatever it is, So I'm hoping that will translate into a little more comfort with people expressing and communicating their boundaries. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, for me also, I wanted to bring up, there's been a fair amount of learning how to be with my own feelings of other people not respecting boundaries. So when you go out in public and everyone's supposed to be wearing a mask or supposed to distance, and somebody comes up and they're not wearing a mask, or it's below their nose, and you have that feeling of like, oh, maybe, this person, like, just like, I think Crystal mentioned this earlier, like trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes. That's been a really big shift for me, is not just being in a sort of like self-righteous anger towards people that are not respecting the, public health and safety boundaries set by, the law, that maybe like to them, it doesn't occur to them for some other reason that maybe I don't see. It doesn't occur to them as something that they need to follow, and just being like, oh, that's really, like, just being curious about it, giving myself permission to be curious rather than just angry, has been that's been a big source of growth for me personally. Yeah.
Yay! That's a great jerk proof your relationships tool.
Yeah.
noticing your own anger, giving constructive ways to move it, but not and just unleashing it on other people, and adopting curiosity instead. So high five.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Garvin, do you have anything to add?
As the inspiration for this part of the conversation with dating.
Yeah, I think during the pandemic, we're definitely forced to slow down. Yeah, like I think one of you mentioned it. Yeah, like I agree that it was going kind of fast, and how they say every relationship, just take it slow. And now with the pandemic, we are forced to take it slow. So we definitely take our time, get to know each other, and yeah, and just feel safe. And then of course, we definitely can set a boundary. When we meet virtually, and yeah, I guess that's all.
Thank you. Well, on a kind of related question, when you are trying to connect with somebody on a date or however, how do you handle it? Like when there's awkward silence, or there's kind of like a disruption to what's going on, or you're distracted, or whether it's a romantic partner or a friend or anybody. How do you guys manage that?
I try hard to look really good, and I cast around wildly for an interesting subject to fill the awkward pause.
There you go.
Maybe not. No, I suppose like when I'm feeling more like triggered into some kind of survival mode where I feel like there's something to survive or fix, yeah, that might be what I do. So seeing if I can, show up grounded and feeling safe in my own skin. Because when I feel safe in my own skin, then I can get curious. What's actually going on here? The awkward pause might be the best and most interesting moment It's that kind of, like I was saying earlier, the momentum's going in one direction and we pause. And maybe there's an opening to go in a direction that feels more meaningful or thoughtful or connected. And so get curious, remind myself that I'm safe, even in the awkward pauses, and then get curious with folks. And that could look like noticing there's something that I really want to say. Maybe it's a question, maybe it's something I want to share, and letting that moment of pause take me deeper.
Wow, Cassandra, that's awesome. Sometimes the pauses are like where the really deep connections are, I think. So, Crystal, looks like you have something.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that I've spent a lot of my life being the person that liked to fill silences and like to talk and keep everything going and avoid any awkwardness and keep it, straight on with the conversation and with people feeling attentive and listened to and talked to. And I think for a lot of that time, I wasn't really listening to people. I wasn't really connecting. I was just trying to push through. And so at this point, and this is due to all of the training that I've done through, Cuddle Sanctuary and Cuddleist and Cuddle Up to Me. And I was really grateful that Samantha Hess, in the very first training I went to, she just really drilled in that awkward moments. That's what we're going to be filled with. That's going to fill up your time for a long time now. And so I think that as a professional cuddler, I actually really look forward to awkward moments, and I really look forward to deepening connection. I also, at this point, really look forward to holding space for people and to allowing what is going to happen before I jump in, because I always have a lot to say. I always have a lot, going on in there, but I attempt to, at this point, really think about, what's happening between the group and the person I'm trying to connect with on any level.
Nice. One of my best personal realizations was that life is awkward. Connections are awkward. We just say, you know what, it's going to be awkward. That's okay. I'm going to just expect that. It's just going to be like that. And that's how you get to the better connection, is to have those awkward moments and work through them. So that's just how life works.
Agreed.
Yeah.
An element that I've noticed in my own experience too is, and it's totally self-imposed and obviously reinforced by a story, but just this perceived pressure to be interesting and to be entertaining, that there's this addiction or this drive to always be entertained. And so that's what I feel like this fear or this worry of oh, if I don't keep the momentum of the connection, the conversation going, whatever, I won't be interesting enough anymore. And the connection will end. I won't get the connection need met that I have if I am not being interesting or entertaining enough. It can feel really disheartening when you're trying to connect with somebody and they're they bring out their phone, something there's enough of a pause that they're their brain is oh, I need stimulation. And it's uncomfortable to be without stimulation, when that addiction is so powerful. And I think that that's really important, to sit with that discomfort and to be curious about it. And where is this coming from? What is the actual need that's driving this? And maybe there isn't a need and it's just perceived. There's a story there that's telling you need to be engaging with life in a certain way, or else something bad will happen. But there's no specificity to it. It's just this kind of baseline level of, what am I doing with my day? What am I doing with life? That's something I've noticed in my own wanting to fill the silences, that my own experiences of that.
Well, Alyssa, you brought up a point, and if we don't want to go here, just go somewhere else. But you brought up, somebody pulling out their phone and wanting that stimulation, and instead of being with an awkward pause. And that's one of the things that I wonder if gaming on a regular basis sets our nervous systems up for constant stimulation. And so I'm super curious to hear from those of you who are more in a gamer community and mindset. What do you think about that? Does it make it harder to have an awkward pause? Our society goes so fast and there's so much constant input, and games seem to me very much like that. Like you have a thing that you are doing all the time, and there are lights, and there's the flashing, and there's the doing. And so to not have that, and to have like this real life connection with like kind of sometimes boring and awkward flesh and blood people, like how is that?
Absolutely.
I would love, to
Go
talk
for
on
it,
that.
Crystal.
Are you
Yeah,
sure?
please, yeah.
I was going to say that I 100% think that the addiction to stimulus is a big hindrance to connection. So I always want to start off by stating that. When it comes to gaming specifically, I see such a plethora or such a wide gamut of different types of engagement, different types of opportunities. So I found that there's a lot of really, really beautiful community and connection within the gaming world that does actually foster a lot of connection and community. But I also see the opposite end of that. And I see this a lot more with handheld devices that you carry with you at all times versus a TV, a computer, or a system that you are looking at and then you are not engaged with and leaving. So I feel like as we've kind of entered an age of my phone is on me at all times, I will always have the opportunity to check the weather, to set my alarm, to look for who texted me. That specifically I see hindering more. I also see specific games set up to be psychologically addicting, similar to how the slot machines are addicting. It's lights, it's colors, it's sounds. You're literally just pressing. There's no actual connection. You're just getting dopamine releases, from that, and it can replicate addiction to, even drug level. And so I do see that hindering connection. However, just to answer the question regarding gaming, I actually see a lot of gamers able to pull away and be connective. And as a gamer, but also someone who loves to connect, it's an interesting conundrum to look at. And as we kind of continue to get more and more connected, I do see more and more disconnection. So it's kind of a double-edged answer there.
I think it all goes back to intentionality.
Yes.
Like being mindful. And that's something, at least, that I've noticed that I've had to bring into any kind of stimulation, whether it's on my phone, whether I'm playing a video game, whether it's just social media or just browsing the web. It's like, what is the purpose? Like, why am I spending my time this way? What am I hoping to get out of it? And I think that that's really the crux of it. Like with video games and the way that they're designed, is you can engage with them and get into the flow in such a way that you kind of forget those intentions. At least that's what I've noticed for myself, is like, I can just get carried on this momentum for, hours if I don't keep checking in and being mindful and like, why am I here? And it's good to have, a chance to give your brain a break from engaging with real life, but it needs to be intentional. It needs to be like, maybe not necessarily like, oh, I have to do it exactly from this time to this time, but that you're checking in with it. You're not allowing yourself to get lost in that flow of the video game to where you forget who you are and why you're here. And so it's a self-connection thing personally that I've noticed. So
I'm so sorry to interrupt, Alyssa. I was just going to agree.
I'm done. I'm good. Yeah, but thank you.
I agree that mindfulness and self-discipline really come into play, and knowing yourself. Any form of therapy can be an escape. Anything that's good for you can be bad for you. And I think that as long as you are self-aware, that's really the key to continuing to check in, to continuing to say, am I tired now? Should I be doing something else now? Because escapism is beautiful at times, but it can be too much as well.
It's really like, am I taking care of myself?
Yep.
Well, and that sounds like part of the beauty of Nurtured Nerds, because sure, you like to nerd out in game, and it's about nurturing one another, and having people that see you and can offer a reality check, I think is amazing, because our own perceptions of self can get warped. And especially if there's like an addictive medium coming in. So to be able to have that reality check with each other, I love it.
That's why, at least I prefer playing games with other people. I prefer multiplayer, and especially since the pandemic, like online multiplayer rather than having to be, on the same network. That's been really huge. And I've noticed a lot of games more and more offering that, especially during the pandemic, is like ways to connect, ways to play with your friends, and not having to just be you and a screen. and just you being stimulated and entertained. It's like, no, it's about the relationship. It's about having the experience with other people, creating that experience together, that I think provides like the bulk of the benefit of video games, in my opinion. My phone just reminded me that Soul Happy Hour is in an hour. So
Yay.
Garvin, did you have anything that you wanted to add about that, about video games, about connection and stimulation? Any of this, is any of this like bringing up anything for you?
I can't think of anything, but about the games, I can say it's a way to make connection.
Yeah.
And but then sometimes you might become more focused on the game and not so much on the connection. But so you're trying to put the two together, and yeah, to make sure that you're still connecting, even though you're playing games together. You know.
Definitely. And a great opportunity to do that is weekly nerd break. We're having one tomorrow evening. It's a great opportunity to show up and connect and engage in a game together and just play and have fun. Yeah, hope to see more Nurtured Nerds there in the future.
Yeah.
So here's a good one that I think really ties in with this is, what can we miss out on when we're not being intentional and practicing the connection? Like whether it's with video games or with anything in life, when connection isn't being, when you're not checking in with that as an intention of like, how am I connecting with the people that I'm engaging with this activity with? And how has the pandemic changed your perspective of that? Or, you know, just the way that you practice that mindfulness and connection?
Kassandra, do you have some thoughts?
I've been jumping in first every time, so I'm really wanting to leave space because I love hearing from other people too.
Okay.
Mary, what are your thoughts on it? Okay, Crystal, yours.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, I think that there's been times, this is going to be a long-winded answer. The pandemic has definitely taught me about the idea of slowing down, the idea of taking self-care, taking time even for myself, being able to almost make an excuse to say, I'm not able to meet, just like the boundaries that we talked about. I'm not able to connect with you in a person. But it's really still opened me up to alternative forms of connection and continuing to be mindful of my own self-care as I do that. I think that like if we're looking at things that you can miss out on, you know, I think that the answer is everything or anything. You know, I think that if you are diving into escapism in any capacity with any form of self-care, because again, self-care can always be a positive, but there's a line that it can cross into addiction almost at any time with anything, exercise, you know, and anything you can imagine, shopping, whatever, can be a form of therapy, but also get to a point where it's hindering you. And I think that the biggest things that can be hurt from that are, of course, your relationships, your community, your family. And I guess I'm not going to say this quote right, but apparently the CEO of Coca-Cola, you know, said that you're juggling a bunch of balls in life, and they include family, spirit, work, family, spirit, career, health, and abundance might be the other one. I'm not sure. But I think it's 4 or 5 different balls, and they're all made of glass, except for work. It's rubber. You know, you drop that one, it bounces back. Every other one shatters. And I think that when you're so dived into any form of self-care or even escapism, which work can be one of them, that's the type of things that happen, is that they can be kind of changed forever, or they can be kind of lost in some ways. And so again, friendships, community, and connection are the things I think that can be lost, to answer the question. And then, and then in just general, I think that it's helped me recognize that idea of mindfulness and what my self-care habits need to be in order to maintain my own mental health and have a full vessel to give from, or a full vessel to connect with.
As you say that, it reminds me of just a little bit earlier today, spending some time with my daughter and thinking about coming on to this podcast and thinking about my business, and that it has in some ways been amazing and amazingly fulfilling, and in some ways grown slower than I want it to. And like, yeah, I could have spent hours on work today, and I had breakfast and hung out with my older daughter and read stories and hung out with my younger daughter and made chocolate chip cookies. And like, really, when they leave the house, which is going to happen really, really soon, am I going to regret any of that? No, absolutely not. So cliche as it is, it's still nice to feel and notice that time with family is incredibly important, and giving myself a break, right? I've often wanted to be such a perfectionist. I don't know if I've wanted to be, but I've lived life as though that is important, and that anything less than perfect is going to lead to some sort of catastrophic failure or loss or abandonment. And really, it's not true. There's a lot of resilience in life and in our relationships. And where there's not, where if we mess up, the relationship disappears, it might be really okay to let those relationships go. If there's no room for breach and repair, right? But we can, like, I could do that myself. I could like break something, or have there be some kind of a break of connection or break of trust. And then if I'm in my perfectionist mindset, just like run away and cut that person out, ghost them, whatever, because I'm sad, angry, ashamed, resentful, whatever. And so some of the skills are to notice that those moments of break happen, whether it's an awkward pause or hurting somebody's feelings or something worse. And that the skills to come back together, to heal that, to make amends, and to not just say, I'm sorry, and be like, hey, can we pretend that never happened? Like, that's kind of a jerk move too. But to actually make amends and connect with and feel the other person and the impact. Which is also super, we're not really talking about this, so I'll just touch on it, super useful for doing any of the noticing our privilege, and for me, noticing the white supremacy culture that I live in and that I take advantage of without even knowing it. And very much ingrained in that is that my intention is not the impact that's happening out there, and to get really curious about the impact on others and to be responsible for my impact, rather than just like, I'm intending to be a good person and not to hurt anybody. And it's like, right. And what's actually happening? What am I actually doing? So
it's really important. I'm glad you touched on that.
Yeah.
Because that can apply to so many things in life, so much privilege. It can apply to race. It can apply to like financial status, to sex. Sex meaning male, female.
Able-bodiedness.
Yeah, ableism. Just so many things where your intention might not match up to the impacts. And like you said, being really curious about that, not being judgmental, because that doesn't really help. Judging yourself, saying, oh, I'm a bad person because I didn't realize that I impacted people. It's like, well, no, like you did have the intention and that matters, but it's really a curiosity thing. It's really like oh, can I actually get my needs met and still be in my intention, and also still acknowledge that there's this other impact that's happening. Something that I wanted to address is there can be at least this perception of of this potential relationship between a practitioner, a cuddle therapy practitioner, and a client of, well, I'm paying for connection, so that means that it's not real, or it's not, meaningful or valuable. So I'm wondering but like all three of our panelists and Mary and I, we all have, our own point of view about this and our own experiences around this. So I'm really interested in what each of you have to say. I'd love Garvin to go first on this question.
Yeah,
I feel like you've probably had more experience than I have with cuddle events and, you know, one-on-one sessions. So please, what is your perspective on this, Garvin?
Which question are we on right now? Which question?
It's number 11. So the question is, if you're paying someone for their time, can that be a really authentic connection? Can that really feed you as a real connection if there's money exchanged? And Garvin, you've been open with us about being a cuddle client. So yeah, I'd love to hear your answer for that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely authentic because you're getting the service that you requested for, and of course you're always asking for what you want, but of course you know, there's always boundaries, and even whatever you don't feel comfortable, they just tell you, okay, just speak up and let us know, you know, don't keep it to yourself. And yeah, so yeah, and then like with a one-on-one session, I mean, I've noticed that the professional cuddlers they're usually very caring people. They always ask you questions, make sure that you're comfortable. And same thing with events too, in this just asking, you know how they say ask and wait, and if they say no, then no. That's yeah. But.
So I'm hearing a lot about like there's a consideration there.
Yeah.
A compassion, a consideration, basically an intention, like we were saying earlier about intentions, an intention for your needs to be met, for you to be supported in meeting your needs. And that seems extremely valuable to me. And to you, I'm assuming otherwise you wouldn't be requesting the service. You wouldn't be continuing to use that as part of your self-care on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, I know I hear from a lot of people of like, oh, you're a cuddler. Well, that's something you should get from your intimate partner, you know, that's something you should do for free. And I'm like, well, sure, it'd be great if I could give that to everybody for free, but I do a lot of training and work to be the best, to provide the service, you know, the best way that I can. And if someone pays me for my time, then that means that they don't have to worry about giving me another exchange for giving them, you know, getting their needs met, for serving them. And that's kind of, that actually was a struggle for me, because I didn't want to accept money for it, but the amount of time that I put into it and effort, I need to get some exchange for it. So I'm interested to hear what everybody else thinks with their own practice.
I was going to say, Mary, I totally agree with you that idea of valuing yourself. I know that I struggled a lot in the beginning with how much I was supposed to charge and what I was comfortable with charging. And, you know, I want the world to be a better place. So what, you know, how does that look? You know, and I was so grateful to have some support from the community in Pittsburgh that works with me. And they offered me the idea of, yes, this is valuable. We're getting so much from this. You know, I studied at Cuddle Sanctuary for their group events. And I felt that it was such a beautiful experience, and that I got so much out of it as well. I think when we're looking at, you know, time is money, and that we do put so much into this to make ourselves professional, to give everything that we can and put it in a safe space, you know, be able to hold space for somebody else, be able to really be present and have our needs met beforehand, you know, so that this is really for that client. This is really for the person that we're connecting with. And I think that from my standpoint, it has been such a pleasure and such an amazing personal evolutionary journey to cuddle professionally. It's helped me. Every connection I've made has been a challenge, and every connection I've made has been, you know, amazing. And there's been so much personal growth where I've been able to lean into my edge, but still be able to be there holding space for them. And that in itself, like, it just, I think that, yeah, it wouldn't work if it wasn't authentic. It wouldn't be able, a client would see through that. I think that our training has helped us do that. And our self-care and self-love has helped us do that. And I think that it's, I think that it is such a beautiful exchange, like you said, where they don't have to worry. They've paid us for our time, but our connection is something that is part of the package, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I love what you said, that it wouldn't work if it's not authentic, and I fully believe that. Like, for me, cuddling is about the connection. I mean, if you just want to touch somebody, there are people who offer that service, and that's fine if that's what you're looking for, but that, to me, that's not cuddling. Cuddling includes the connection that really is the soul feed that gets your oxytocin flowing, that really, so yeah. And if the connection is not authentic, it's not going to work.
Even as you say that, I feel it.
Yeah.
And it can be such a rare thing too, like in life, to have space held for you, and to have feel this permission to hold space for yourself. And I think that really is the most valuable thing, is what you do in that space is going to be very individual to you, but just the fact that somebody is holding space for you and saying, let's hold space together, and that this space is for you, to support you in meeting your needs. That's really so valuable, because it's something that's not guaranteed in life. Even if you have these intimate relationships of family, friends in your life, they're holding space for themselves probably, but maybe not for you. And so that's what you're paying for, really, is that this time is for you, to support you. And I'm going to be present with you, and it's all about you and the connection. And it's not about me thinking about the rest of my day. It's not about me planning what I'm going to have for dinner. It's no, I'm with you, and I'm paying attention to you, and you are my focus.
Nice. I love this question. And one of the easiest, the simple way for me to wrap my mind around it or share with clients is, it's we pay for therapy. We go to a talk therapist. And of course, we can talk with friends, but going to a therapist or a counselor is a different quality of listening and expertise around the issues that you're dealing with. Also, similarly, why would someone go to a massage therapist instead of just asking their friends for a shoulder rub? It's the quality of the attention, it's the duration of the attention, and it's the expertise that they bring. And I would say that people come to me as a cuddlist for the same things, right? That focus that you're talking about, Alyssa, where it's all about them, but also the quality, and Mary, what you're talking about with the training that you've done and the expertise that you bring, right? It's that quality of attention and care and boundaries. Madeline Guinazzo, who's the co-founder of Cuddlist, talks about how we are not giving our clients a nice touch session. That is not the purpose of what we're doing. What we're doing is modeling our clear boundaries and our clear yes and our clear no. And along the way, they're probably going to get a nice touch session and feel cuddled, but that's not the primary thing. And so to shift that, and also to notice that there's nothing, there's no hidden agenda, right? And we know that because of the transactional nature of it. I am being paid. It is very clear what my part of this is. It is very clear what your part of this is as a client. You are coming to, and we talk about what the client wants to get out of it, what they want to experience. And then I offer that wholeheartedly, I will offer what I feel good about offering. And I will not get resentful or angry or martyr myself to try to make you have a good time. And so you can really trust that I will speak up and advocate for myself. And will you do the same? Will you not tolerate or endure either? And so it's such a cool thing. It's such a clear container. And every once in a while, a cuddling client will say, well, can we have a personal relationship instead? Could we be friends instead? Could we be romantic partners instead? And generally that answer is no, because the container of the cuddlist client container is so precious and it's so beautiful that it's not a less than a friendship or a less than a romantic partnership. It's actually just this amazing experience, an amazing container. So I'm preaching to the choir, I know, but for anybody who's listening,
thank you so much.
Reach out and check it out.
Love it.
So before we close out, is there anything that any of our panelists or Mary that you would want to say to someone out there right now who's feeling alone, isolated, they don't have the connections they feel they need, what would you say to them?
So go ahead and be brave and reach out. That first step can seem really hard, like nobody actually cares or wants to hear from you or whatever, but go ahead and reach out. I know Alyssa, Mary, Crystal, and I would all be happy to have you go to cuddlist.com, send a request our way, or reach out through our websites. I'm CassandraBrown.org. You can reach out, you can call me, we can have a conversation. It's not a sales call. Like if it turns out that I have something to offer that would be a great fit for you, cool, I'll tell you about my services and how we can work together. But that initial conversation, that initial outreach can be such a thing to break you out of that loneliness and isolation, and to hear yourself say what you want and to have somebody else hear you and reflect it back to you. It makes it so much easier to start creating that in your world. So I'd say reach out.
What came up for me that in listening to what you just said, Cassandra, is you're worth it. Whatever time, energy, uncomfortableness needs to happen to get that need met for you, you're worth it. Whatever it costs, you are worth it.
Worth seeking out that connection for yourself. Every individual, it's worth doing that little bit of work, even if it feels awkward for you, to find the people you can connect with. And I know most cuddlers have, the good ones have a good process where they talk with you and find out if you are a good fit before they just say, okay, let's book a session. Because, I don't cuddle with strangers either. I meet people, I get to know them, and then we decide that we want to work together, and then we have a cuddle session. So, yeah. And I know when I was first feeling lonely and like I was missing connection in my life, what I did was I went out to meet up and thought, well, who can I go hang out with and have fun with? And that's where I found Cuddle Party. And that's why I'm here today. So it was like,
yay, meetup.
Yay, meetup. Yeah. Very good.
Well, and I also want to say thank you very much for having me. I think we're wrapping up and closing out the call. So just thank you. It's been so fun. I like all of you, and it's fun to hang out with you. And hopefully this ripples out into the world and touches some folks who get some inspiration and maybe reach out to cuddling, or for jerk-proof your relationships, or in some other way to learn how to connect and to go ahead and reach out for it. So
yeah. Thanks, Cassandra. Will you tell us one more time how we can find you?
Sure. CassandraBrown.org, Kassandra, Brown like the color.org. And, or you could just give me a call, 720-340-2246. Just reach out, text, call. It's really lovely to connect with folks.
Thanks, Cassandra. I love it. Yeah, because you guys, Cassandra is amazing to talk to. So if you're worried at all, but you want to talk to her, just do it. She's awesome.
She won't bite. No danger.
I say that costs extra. Yeah, the biting.
Extra. Yep. And
thanks all. I'm gonna jump
then.
You.
Bye. Okay, thanks, Cassandra.
Bye.
Crystal, do you want to wrap up? Do you have any final thoughts and tell us where to find you as well?
Of course. I'm once again so excited and so grateful to be here with everyone today. You guys are amazing. I really think that leadership comes in many forms, and I think that what you're doing here is a form of leadership. You're showing people that it's okay to be special, it's okay to be unique. And of course, if I'm looking at anybody out there who's feeling isolated or alone, even just inspiring yourself by watching these wonderful videos or listening to these beautiful podcasts or playing video games with communities, any way that you reach out, there is no guilt, no shame in it. Celebrate the little wins and honor yourself in any way you can, even if that's going to a float tank or connecting with nerdy people that you love, or getting a massage, or going to meet up with a cuddlist or a professional cuddler of any kind or capacity. So I'm definitely celebrating anyone who's listening to this and recommending that you honor yourself always, and that you look up to wonderful people like Alyssa and Mary here. I'm so excited. to be here. And my name's Crystal, and I certainly love talking about cuddling, and I love promoting it, and I love connecting with people, whether you want to be a cuddler or you're just feeling isolated or you have questions. You're always welcome to reach out to me. My email is crystaltherapy.cc@gmail.com, and my website is crystaltherapy.cc. And I have a Facebook and an Instagram. Cuddle Pittsburgh is the Instagram, and the Facebook is Crystal's Cuddle Therapy. I know that's a lot. You're certainly welcome to find me any way you like. I love, love, love chatting and connecting, and I am so grateful to do this work. So thank you for having me today.
Oh,
awesome.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. Garvin, do you have any final thoughts you want to share with us?
Yeah, just like because just share about just reach out, because that's all I did 3 years ago. I was feeling lonely and I just reached out, and then I started doing sessions and started going to events, and it's working really well. I feel pretty connected after doing several sessions and several events, and yeah, it's definitely a great way to get connected.
I'm picturing like every event or every session you have as being a little brick, and you're like building your glorious cuddle castle one brick at a time. It's like Minecraft. It's like you just do one cube at a time, and pretty soon you just keep adding cubes. Pretty soon you'll have your pyramid or your mansion or whatever you're trying to build, whatever you want to build for yourself. Like just take a step, just one step, just like don't focus on the future or the past. Just what's your brick today? What's today's step?
Beautiful.
That's wonderful. Alyssa, I'm realizing that we don't often tell people how to find us, because it's on our Nurtured Nerds website. You can find us there, but my website is marycuddler.com, and I'm also on Cuddlist. And how about you?
Yeah, so I've been taking a bit of a break from being on Cuddlist, and I have done the Cuddle Sanctuary training, but I haven't taken that step to be on that website yet. So for me, to reach me, you just there's NurturedNerds@gmail.com. You can also reach me at alyssa.n.osberg@gmail.com. That's my personal email. Yeah, just please fill out the membership form on our website. Like, honestly, it can seem like if you've seen the application, you're like, oh, this is too much. Like, just put whatever's there for you. We're not here to judge, oh, their answer wasn't good enough. It's like, we just want to get to know you so we know how we can support you in this community, because we want this to be a community where you feel welcome and you feel that it's valuable for your own needs. So just reach out, nurturednerds.com. All the info's there. We're on Facebook. Nurtured Nerds, there's a business page. Well, not business page, it's community project page. And then there's a Nurtured Nerds community group, which you can join when you become a member of the community. But we are okay with, we have a weekly nerd break. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to just dip your toe in and just come to the nerd break before you decide if you want to be in the community or not, that's perfectly fine. Just you can direct message me, Alyssa Osberg, on Facebook. You can comment on the community project page on the event, say I'm interested in coming. We'll get in touch with you. And yeah, no pressure, no like judgment, just show up and we'll connect.
Yeah. And we've got a new raffle for this next section of members coming in. And the drawing will be for anybody who joins before, what's the deadline? July 29th.
Yes.
So
and the winner will be announced August 1st.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's does anyone have a nerdy thing that they want to share?
Yeah, let's go back.
I have one. I was playing Sackboy, the Sackboy game on PlayStation before we got on the call, and I'm sure this is really relatable. I the game is like super buggy, and I was just really frustrated that I'm like, just give me the stupid orb that I like literally I'm standing inside the orb and it's like, no, you didn't collect it. I'm like, come on.
No.
And that's actually been really, I've learned a lot about myself through how buggy this game is, that I'm like, why am I getting mad at like an inanimate thing? Like, or I get mad at like the programmers or the testers or whatever. I'm like, this should be so much better than it is. And I love Little Big Planet. I love the style of gameplay so much, where it's like just these levels that are seemingly crafted together out of all these random objects, and you get to be this little tiny person that like swings around or like grabs onto stuff or climbs, or yeah, it's just really cute and fun. I love that game. That's my nerdy thing that I've been engaging with recently.
I love Little Big Planet. I haven't played the other game, but yeah, I totally feel you on the bugginess. That's gotten on my nerves in other games as well, where I'm like, I'm stuck in a wall now. I can't go anywhere.
I swear I'm doing it right. This game is the thing that's wrong. I'm right. I like, it really like shows me my own immaturity so much, and I'm thankful, because like really it's important to be humble, you know, as much as you can. Like, you know what, I'm not perfect. I can feel like an injustice, but at the end of the day, it's a game.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, I'll survive. It's
survive.
Okay.
Put it away. It's all right. You'll live, right?
Yeah. But eventually, like, I just go, you know what, I'm done with this frustration for today. That was what I did. I was like, I just need to relax before we get on the podcast. I was getting so frustrated. So that's important too, with self-care with video games. Check in with yourself. How are you doing emotionally? How are you being impacted by what's happening in the game? Whether it's your fault or not, like, it doesn't matter whether you're a bad player or a good player. Like, take care of yourself. You deserve to be in an environment, whether you're creating it or not, like, you deserve to be in an environment where your emotional needs are being met.
I have a nerdy thing actually that ties back to several episodes we've had in the past. We've had a couple guests that have been fans of Stardew Valley. So I started that. Yeah, so I've been playing it this last couple of weeks, and it's kind of a farm game.
Oh, that's
so
right.
You plant your plants and you have your tree farm, and however you can fish. And I've been playing it, and this is one reason why I don't like video games so much, but it pulls me in, and then I end up playing it, you know, for 6 hours every night. And this but I realized, like, I have a garden. I have a real garden.
You're like, if I spent 6 hours in my real garden, what could I create? Yeah, I totally relate.
Yeah. So, and I'm feeling back to like that. How do you tie video games back to make your own reality? Because there were some work projects that I was having a lot of trouble like being happy about. And I thought, well, but I'm totally happy to like do 5,000 clicks to water my garden. You know? Why can I do 5,000 clicks for this dumb work project and get paid for it? And so that actually helped me to think of that.
Yeah, gamify your life.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. So it's interesting, and it's making me want to do my garden more. So, you know, it's balanced. I love what Crystal was saying. Like, anything that is good for you can be bad for you too if you do too much of it, and you just got to find the right balance there. So I love that.
I like gamify your life too. I 100%. I absolutely still think that way with creating your reality of like, you can one-ups and you can definitely.
Yeah, I think the big, like for me anyway, like a big part of that like reward in my brain that happens with video games is like, you can look and see, oh, these are all my achievements. It's all listed there. And this is something that I learned a lot about through the personal growth seminar that I created Nurtured Nerds through, is like, acknowledge yourself. Create a system where you acknowledge yourself for the things that you do that build on what really matters to you, that help you become who you want to be and give yourself the life you want to have. Write it down, have a list. I mean, it can seem kind of lame in some ways, but like really, you can make your life like a game, gamify it, you know, grow your stats, say, this is who I want to be, And these are steps that could go towards it, and just keep track of it and acknowledge yourself. Celebrate your successes, even if they're small.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I love it.
I was going to say my nerdy thing is kind of also just a little bit related. I wanted to talk about plants because I just actually really love plants, and I'm doing landscaping for like my career choice right now, my
Nice.
daytime job. And so I was just going to introduce you to at least like 2 of my plants. I guess I probably already did this.
No.
This is a Sansevieria. I know it looks kind of weird. I don't know if you can see him.
It looks like a big sword.
He does look like a big sword. And then I have, go ahead.
It's the mother-in-law tongue, right?
Yes, it is. Great.
You want to see mine? Because I could use your help, because mine is really sad. There. I don't know, Crystal, can you see it?
Is it leaning against the wall?
It's the two green. It's the two. Yeah, it's all the green stuff there that I've cut off and tried to replant, and it's very sad.
So they're succulents, and sometimes they like a sandy soil, and sometimes I found that mine gets too much sun. So it's like a sunny spot can be good, but sometimes actually a not so sunny spot can be good. So I think soil content could be a factor. And I don't think those types of plants need tons of fertilizer. They can be hardy, but I've definitely killed a lot of them. So I think that plants are really interesting, and they're little like games in themselves. They're little like, how can we figure out how to keep this alive? I'm going to try and see if I can.
Yeah, show us your other one.
So we've got this is a giant, I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
Giant fuchsia. So I think it's called a red dragon fuchsia. And then there's an agave and a pineapple.
Oh, nice. You planted the pineapple head.
Pineapple.
I love it. Yeah, I
planted you can plant the top. Yeah.
And I'm trying to see how long it'll go, but I love experimenting with plants. I love unique plants. So again, one of my nerdiest traits when it comes to plants is I love what are they called? Carnivorous plants. So I think that I don't have one right now, but the Venus flytrap and the pitcher plants, there's some beautiful tropical pitchers that dangle down and look just so amazing, so unique. And then some of the ones that are native to Pennsylvania kind of grow up from the ground or grow up and look like little like tubes hanging out. And it may sound weird that I'm so into these things, but I just think they're fun. They're hard to keep alive, and they're challenging. They're very challenging, and they're just super cool. My garden is not good, but my potted plants are doing all right. So we're learning slowly but surely.
It's a form of creation, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like a mom. I've got a lot of mom energy, and I get so happy. I'm like, this is my baby. This is my new baby right here.
I know. I love that you're into plants. I'm a garden nerd too, but I tell people I have a brown thumb because I can help.
Or a black thumb.
I am better than a black thumb.
Yeah. I think we all start out somewhere though. So I feel that energy. I feel like I'm still struggling to like learn certain things, but I'm just loving every day learning more and more about landscaping and horticulture and sustainability and just how to keep them alive.
That's awesome. I love it.
Garvin, any nerdiness to share?
Basically just playing games and maybe just things that I do regularly, I guess. Or like a favorite TV show that I make sure I watch every episode of. I don't know if that's considered a nerdy thing.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely.
What show?
Let's see. Well, I feel like some of those superheroes, like Supergirl, The Flash, and
nice.
Those
are good.
And then I just started watching Nancy Drew. So.
Oh,
interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that one. I mean, I know of Nancy Drew, but I didn't know they had a show on there.
Oh yeah, it's
what's it on?
It's when is it on or what?
Or no, what like where do you find it? Is it what channel or what platform?
It's on CW. I don't know what channel that is.
CW. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm checking it out.
It just finished the second season. So.
CW's got some pretty good shows.
I agree.
Nice. I love nerding out with you guys. We're nerdy on.
So we've done like promos already, like a little early, which is totally cool. Let's do Cuddle Pose of the episode. Yeah. So the one I wanted to mention, which is really two things in one, is an homage to Grace's wonderful Hands and Eyes event last Saturday. It was a week ago today. And Garvin was there as well, and Gita, and I was there, and Grace obviously, and there were a few other people that I didn't know yet who were also wonderful. Just hand holding, eye gazing. Like
So
really, there's so
powerful.
much there, so much vulnerability, so much sensitivity. You can be so playful and creative. I witnessed and experienced just so many wonderful moments of connection through just hand holding and eye gazing. I say just because there can be this sort of urge of like, no, I want to get into full cuddling again right away, just like at the old cuddle events before the pandemic. And it's like, yeah, that's awesome, but like there is so much to appreciate too, and like it's good to slowly get back into it and yeah, just experiment with these more, you know, low contact ways of connecting. And I got a lot out of it personally.
Yeah. And I think eye gazing can be deceptive because it is very intimate and can be very powerful, way more than like full body cuddling. And
Agreed.
people are like, oh, I'm just looking at you. Well, yeah, people don't get looked at. And
Yeah.
we're not
Being
used to it.
seen,
Really
seen
seen,
is
yeah.
vulnerable.
It is, but it's a wonderful practice if you really want to get close with somebody, just to look in their eyes for 30 seconds, for 5 minutes, however, you know, it's amazing. I'm glad you brought that up.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I really love the eye gazing, and I think that is a wonderful cuddle pose in my mind. I have it on my list of things that I like to do with clients, but it isn't a beginner's move in my mind. It is we want to really be comfortable. We want to really own that. And I think that eye gazing builds intimacy. And I think there are some studies, I can't quote which ones, but I've at least done some small amounts of research on connection work, and some of the connection work included eye gazing as a part of that. When a baby is nursing with their mother, they are actually looking into each other's eyes, and that's how the mom forms that bond of I want to take care of you. So it's a different type of love than romantic love. It's a family love, and that is so powerful to me, and really means a lot. You know, I think that it's imperative. So I love that. I'm glad that event went well too. That's really wonderful to hear.
Yeah. How was that for you, Garvin? What was that like, being in person at a touch and connection event again?
Great. I just I've done one of these events for over a year, and it's so good to be connecting in person again. And of course, I mentioned at the beginning, like I was trying not to laugh during the eye gazing.
Yeah.
Because I know it's just because it was like for 2 minutes, and I was like, okay, it's becoming more like a staring contest. And I was like, okay, so I tried to hold my breath. Like, I'm trying not to laugh.
It definitely harkens back to that question about awkward moments.
Yeah,
it can feel awkward, but you know, laughing is an emotional release, just like crying or just like any other emotion.
I found myself laughing so much because I felt so much joy being with people and connecting.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have let it out.
If you feel comfortable, I just want you to know that it's okay to let it out. You don't have to keep it in. And I'm sure any of our facilitators would tell you the same thing.
Agreed.
But whatever works for you is the way to go.
Tears and laughter always welcome.
Yeah, Grace always says that. I was going to say that too.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. Oh, well, we have had some really great conversations today. Have we touched on everything we needed to, Alyssa?
Yeah, we can just reiterate, we've said this in other episodes, but I'll just let you know what's in the care package that we're raffling, our second care package. So first of all, congratulations to Oberon for being our first winner. And so all you need to do is fill out the membership application and you're in the raffle. The items are a free 30-minute virtual session with a professional cuddler. Crystal, I know you were Oberon's choice, and I don't know if you've had your session yet, but I will come back to that in a minute. A free electronic copy of Mary's wonderful book, The Art of Authenticity, How to Be You. If you listened to last episode, Sam Varnerin, she volunteered a copy of her book. It's the Happy While Hermiting Handbook, a guide for your isolation. It was inspired by the pandemic.
Yep.
And a free PlayStation gift card. I think we're doing $25 for that. And of course, you get to submit a question for future podcasts, and you get a discount. You get to work with Kassandra on a discount for her Jerk Proof Your Relationships course. The price did go up, but really she wants you to invest in yourself. We all do. And so whatever is going to work for you, whatever is going to allow you to be supported, like, we want to work with you. We really want you to take this course. So those are the items in the care package.
That's great.
And yeah, Crystal, if you know if it's okay, if Oberon would be okay with you sharing, if you've had your virtual session yet.
So I'm so grateful to say that we were able to connect several times. We had some consultation work and then the virtual session. And I'm so grateful to do this work. I think that not only when I first started doing virtual, I was like, what? No, I'm a professional cuddler. Why would I do that? And so it took me a while. I mean, I want to say it was a big hurdle for me to get over, saying, well, how do I do virtual offerings? And I've been so blessed with the Nurtured Nerds community specifically, because you guys are across the country. Like, I can't see any of you in person right now, even if I wanted to, even if there was no pandemic. And so what's been such a blessing, and what just was reiterated and more hope given, if that makes sense, when I had the virtual session recently with Oberon, was just that idea of connection doesn't always mean touch, and connection can be found in such interesting, adaptable, beautiful, crazy ways. You know, like some of the fun techniques I learned with Cuddle Sanctuary's one-on-one cuddler certification, which I'm still working on as well, hoping to get in those last couple virtual sessions. By the way, if anyone wants one, I'm trying to work through that. So I just think that it may, you know, even if you've got like questions or you're not sure how it's going to be, like, virtual sessions are amazing. They're still fun. There's still ways to connect. And I loved getting to know Oberon, and I loved being able to, I felt so honored to be able to connect with him virtually, and to know that someday when I travel out that way, which is going to happen, I'm going to be able to hug all of you. I'm very looking forward to that moment. It may be a while, but I'm willing. I'm never going to give up.
You got to tell me when you're coming, because I'll do a cuddle party.
I would love that more than anything. In fact, I'm hoping soon, at some point when I'm feeling super comfortable, to do a pilgrimage to meet up with everybody because I want to learn from all of you. I really do feel like we all have a lot to share with each other.
That's on my list.
That would be really wonderful.
Yeah.
That Cuddle Expo needs to happen, but before, I'm going to be starting a pilgrimage, man. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Travel all across the country and see all the colors. Yes, that's totally what I want to do as well. I'll be coming to see you at some point, Crystal. Yay.
Oh, are we feeling nurtured?
Nurtured.
I am.
Woohoo. All right.
Wow.
Well, let's have some self-hugs.
Woohoo. And hug yourself. Oh.
Love it.
Thanks, you guys. I hope you come back for the next episode. We'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And
I'm
here.
still here.
Yeah.